some stuff?
I'll do it if you want to do it. I want to go back and listen to how many times we sing with the intro or any of the songs. Like, it's got to be close to 75, 80%.
That we sing with it?
Yeah, we're always, you always get it. You go into cat mode, meow, 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 meow.
Oh, I do. I like cat mode.
Yeah.
I like cat mode. Meow, 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 meow.
It's one of the weirdest things about you from my seat.
I started that a long time ago, and no, I'm not going to quit.
No, don't stop now.
Don't stop me now. I'm having such a good time. I'm having a ball. Don't stop me now.
I was taking the higher octave for you to balance it out. But
cool.
Good time, have a good time.
We could go. The Queen.
Come on,
Queen.
come on.
We could just
go. Bohemian pulled up on my watch list on one of the. We've been watching it.
What a great movie!
And I was like, I could watch that again.
Boy, he deserved that
That's
Oscar.
a classic.
Yeah,
it's a classic.
Welcome into a Sinner and Saint podcast with Ben and Patrick. We are on
50. We made it 50. Oh, I shouldn't say it yet. We
81.
Yet to see it recorded, but yes,
81 episodes.
We're on the 1 millionth episode that we've attempted, and 50 that we've been able to record successfully.
I can't believe we made it.
I don't know why I want to do this, but I feel like I need to.
Well, because it's our golden episode. It's our golden episode that you brought a golden drink to. Should we get to that?
I'm going to take a shower for this one.
Oh, my word. Okay. A couple episodes.
Eddie, help me out.
Oh, demanding today, Eddie.
Eddie, do it now.
The tone it will be exactly. Time to get a drink. Just a little drink.
Ooh, burping in my mouth.
I hope, not bourbon.
Oh, I said burping.
Oh, burping. I hope. I always want to try and surprise you, which is hard because you're such an alcoholic. Not an alcoholic.
Well, my mother says.
This is the bee's knees.
Oh yeah.
Have you had a bee's knees?
I have.
Dang.
Several times.
So you're gonna. The other reason
So
I try to
know if you made it well or not.
Well, based on appearance, how's it looking so far? It's a little. Is it dark?
It's
dark. Is it a little much?
This is not what I would have thought for a bee's knees.
It's probably not right.
Oh,
I didn't measure well.
Who cares?
Welcome to the bee's knees, Solancha.
Do you need
Sinner and Saint Pod? Yeah.
Do we need to get you a measuring kit?
No, I have one, but I didn't want to do it. I was like, I'm just gonna play it by ear. And...
That's not far off.
No?
Yeah, it tastes good. What'd you use to make this?
Dry gin.
Mm-hmm. Which surprises me when you're like a bee's knees, and I'm like, Patrick made a gin cocktail.
I had to. You've offered a couple of rum drinks for me lately, and I was like, I gotta balance this out.
It's also 9-1, so I mean,
Yeah. Well,
I'm responsible for 90% of the drink.
Yeah,
so
but
pretty easy.
I was like, I can. Come on, I can figure it out. And so, dry gin, honey, OJ, and a little bit of lime.
Okay.
That's it.
The difference.
What am I missing?
No, a lot of people don't use OJ. Instead, they'll use more of like a lemonade because it'll lighten it up.
Mine said OJ.
Right.
Mine said.
I like it. This is a good
I looked at
variation.
2 recipes and they said OJ.
I like OJ. This is a good variation.
And
It's like a fancy screwdriver.
Yeah. Bedazzled.
I like it. No, this is not what. I don't know what I was expecting.
It's the bee's knees, or as one said, also sometimes called the cat's whiskers. And that's all I got. I don't know why.
Now the biggest objective I have with this cocktail.
It's not in the right glass.
No.
And I don't have cocktail glasses.
No. My objective with this cocktail.
Oh, I thought you said objection.
I would like to take a nap later today, I think. And I think this is going to help me get there. I think drinking this and then maybe getting some hot chicken on the way home might ease me right into a produced
afternoon lull.
Yeah, a little produced second half nap I'm looking for. Yeah.
That's where you rest your eyes, as my kids say it.
So I'm a real bad napper.
Oh, I'm not. Nope.
Oh, I hate naps.
I'm a rock star.
I used to have I have a friend his former wife was like, we joke she should give lessons in napping. We're like, because there was that, I don't know if it's still out there, was the professional cuddlers.
I was just going to bring that up. My kids wanted me to be that.
A professional cuddler?
Did I tell you that? Yeah.
No.
At the end of COVID, They're like, Dad, you should just put a couch on the corner and put a sign out that says free cuddling or hugs. And I'm like, I feel like that crosses a line. I looked at like professionally of being a cuddler. Like, I'm like, I could do that. Like, I could hug strangers, and it wouldn't like, I wouldn't think anything of it.
They're different people.
I read, I went through and I read all the like the stipulations and the rules, the agreements that they have to sign, and like it's like they're like it, like they're like it's okay if you're sexually stimulated. That's to be expected, but we're not going to act on it. Like, and so we'll adjust and we'll move forward. And I'm like, that would be a little weird part.
All over again.
You have to be clean. Like they're like you have to be showered. Like there can't be any odors. Like there's all this stuff, and I'm like, but then I'm like, it probably doesn't work out for me because I'm a furnace. Like I'm just a hot body. And
you are a hot body.
And if they're wanting to secure my services in the summer,
yeah. Well, now think about this though. What if you did it in the summer in Argentina?
Is that on the other side of 37?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Go back to the last episode.
Because it'd be winter, right?
So yeah, I know.
Our summer is Argentina's winter.
Yeah.
And so you could have perma-winter. Perma-winter snuggles.
I'm a what's the opposite of a snowbird? A summerbird?
The opposite of a snowbird is a polar bear.
That'd be me. Yeah.
I have a buddy who's very agile, and he's in his 40s and he's still incredibly agile. Just really fit guy, and lives a very healthy lifestyle. And he helped me do some tree trimming one year, and this was several years ago. I was just so impressed the way that he could like scale his way up the tree and then just like drop the rope down, and I would tie the chainsaw and he'd
pull it up,
and he was like, so then we get towards the end of the project, and he's a nice guy, and also like we really love being competitive with each other. So I think at that moment he was kind of like, hey, do you want to do some of the cutting? And I was like, well, sure. Wow, guys. I later compared it to this. My buddy Beamer scaled that tree like a jungle cat. I hung off a limb like a polar bear with an inner ear infection. Like I could not figure out how to make my body move in the way it needed to move to scale the tree, let alone him he just monkeyed up the tree.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know how that's...
I don't even know what you just did.
I studied physics, and that doesn't make sense to me. And he could just zip straight up the tree, and I'm like, okay. And then I was just hanging off one branch, legs around it, arms around it, just mass under the, like, I don't know what to do next. I guess let my legs go and drop back to the ground.
Are you afraid of heights?
Not at all.
No, I'm
not at all.
Although I will say, as I've gotten older, I am, and have been in a high space. I don't get up in a lot of high spaces that are jeopardizing in any way. But the last couple of times I've done it, I've been like, oh, this is more unnerving than it was when I was younger. And part of that's just like I used to, I was more active and athletic and agile and whatever when I was younger, and I've lost a tick in my step.
Yeah. Now I do struggle with my brain does not yet recognize my age.
Oh no.
And so, because there's different times of the year we decorate our house for different things, which oddly we don't really do a lot of outside decorations for Christmas, but we
big Halloween
house. Yeah. We do month of May for the flags and stuff. So this past May I was up on the ladder and I was just kind of like, if I fall, I fall. Yeah, and it was just, but it was just such an indifference to my own well-being where I was just like, I'm pretty high up here, and like, I don't know, this thing's a little rickety.
I'm not. It's not solid footing.
Exactly. Like I didn't properly.
Could have been a little bit more secure on setting that ladder up before I climbed up it, but
if I could go back.
So if I fall down, I guess I deserve it. I mean,
if I go back 4 minutes, I'll make better choices. If not, I'll just figure out if I can scale down the rock wall that is the front of my house.
Yeah.
And so it
is a magnificent front. I've always been like, that's just made. That front of the house is made for rock climbing. Like
it is.
You could sell weekend tickets for.
We could, yeah.
Yeah, just come climb the front of my house.
Yeah, half of for those of you who don't know where I live, and I hope that's all but one of you. The front of my house is all stonework. That really is. It's all Indiana limestone.
I think I could climb it. I could climb it. You like climb up and clean out a foot of guttering, and you win.
Yeah. Oh no, we got gutter guards. No one has to do that. Don't put that on.
Okay, sorry.
But what I love most is that 3/4 of our living room wall is that same stone. Where like the fireplace goes all the way up to the ceiling and all the way across, and there's a built-in wood box with the mantle, and then the part that's not stone is actually where the bar cart is in our living room. That was a big feature of the house. Did I ever tell you about how I saw our house?
You saw it digitally because you weren't able to see it.
Yeah,
right?
I was traveling for work, and
your wife found it and liked it,
and she's like, and she was like, "What do you think?" And even just seeing it on a phone in a hotel room, I was just like, that's our effing house. Yeah. And she was like, really? I was like, put in the offer. Yeah, I don't have to see it. That's our house. That's it. And we still live there today.
How many years ago was that?
7. 7 this weekend we moved in.
Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice job.
So, anyways, we were talking about something better than that before.
Were we? I doubt it. We don't really have much. I mean, our better's not much.
That's what I like about this, though, is that...
Is that a tagline? Our better's not much.
Our better's less than 1%.
That's the title. Well,
our better's not much. If you don't mind, populate from the last episode too, because we forgot that. I don't know what we talked about. My indifference to falling off a ladder is also kind of my indifference on just being better for people I don't know. How about this? I'm gonna put a listener challenge out there. Write us an email. info@asinnerandsaint.com.
asinnerandsaint.com. I know, it's a lot of words, but you can figure it out.
Because I got to tell you, we're going to give you a shout out. If you write us an email, we're going to give you a shout out. We used to talk to this kind of rascally couple, Carl and Barb, and they
got attacked by grizzlies and died. They probably tried to get a selfie in Yosemite.
They were hunting with cats and
whatever they were doing, it wasn't working.
That's not designed for success. So... yeah, we'd love to hear from you though.
Please do. And I've been putting questions and polls on every episode for the last year. So engage with us. If you don't, we're going to show up at your door. And if you listen to the last episode,
that's not real. We're not going to do that.
I thought that was part of I thought that was like a membership program. Like,
you go ahead.
Like a D membership program.
I want to watch this kite fly, and I'll pull it back when I need to.
You pay us to not show up at your house,
it's like a Patreon. I know.
We're gonna get you.
Hey Dave, what's this $5 charge to the Sinners?
That keeps them from showing up here. Yeah. Trust me, you want it.
Isn't that like what the Italians did in the 30s in New York? They called it a protection racket. Mm-hmm. That's how Rico started. No, it's totally different. These guys make me laugh. Those Italians didn't.
These guys are so bad they make me look good. No, trust me. When you think I'm bad, honey, you should listen to these podcasts. You'll be glad you're married.
When I need to feel good about me, I listen to these guys.
Yeah, listen to this with your spouse in the car, and they'll be like, these guys are the worst. And you'll be like, aren't you glad you married me? And she'll be like, well, yeah, I guess so. Perspective matters. I mean, it's all relative.
Yeah, I have relatives.
This is a bee's knees, man.
It was good.
You
did a good job. You did a good job. Like I said, so it's funny. I think we've talked about this before.
If I were a cat, my hind back would just have raised up real high.
Yeah.
Because for you to pet it.
Oh man, in my head about like a long time ago on this podcast, you said that you can't listen to us. You can't skip 15 seconds ahead.
Oh no, because we're all over the place. Because
I was going to talk about something, and now I'm just going somewhere else.
The rabbit trails are quick on this hike.
So I had a buddy who was traveling recently and needed me to take care of his cat. So I was.
You said yes.
So I was.
Whoa!
I was going.
Is this your saint moment?
Yes! Yes! It is! God, I forgot the whole freaking...
Oh, yeah, I forgot the whole format of the podcast.
Format of what we were doing here. I thought we were just drinking. I thought you were like living some weird dream where it's like, yeah, cool, we can have a drink.
I don't know, he's sitting in front of his laptop and we got these microphones in our face and we're drinking for it.
Sometimes being a friend is like helping the imaginative. So I went over and I was taking care of his cat, and the first day I got there, the cat was like, and like this dude loves his cat, and like his cat is, and I get it because I loved my dog, so like I get everything.
Cat.
So he has like all around his TV, he has like cat trays where the cat can jump and play and do his thing. I hadn't been to his place since he put those in, so I opened the door and the cat's like at eye level. And the cat and I get along. I've met this cat numerous times, and it's comfortable with me.
Is it a dog cat, as they say?
Kind of. It's a needy cat.
Okay.
But especially because the cat's person was away. Yeah. So the cat was just like, surrogate guy, you're fine. Yeah. But the problem was the longer he was gone, the cagier the cat got, to where I was like, I don't feel like I can trust you at this point, because you're like rolling on your back, and then I start to pet you, and like your back legs like lock into my hand, and that feels dangerous.
The way they raise up their back end when you run, like if you pet the back of the cat, and it's like,
yeah,
you're like, what? What are you doing?
I had an opportunity. He came back into town, and he lived, and I had a chance.
And you hadn't killed the cat.
And I
didn't put it, wrap it in a shower curtain, and put it in the bathtub, and like maybe you won't know.
I didn't dream about the cat, so I didn't kill it, obviously. So then I was asking him about it, and he's like, oh yeah, that's just like the cat being the cat. Like they just get super needy, like the longer they're away from their people. And I was like,
just like my wife.
Cool. Yeah. Does she get real needy?
Yeah, she likes that security and stability. Like,
I know. She tried to hold my hand on our podcast last week.
I'm sure she did.
And I was even wearing my t-shirt that said "Not a hugger."
That's a good t-shirt.
And I don't know if she was a fan. I slapped her hand.
You should have. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, because it's one thing to move it away, but it's another thing. Corrective behavior.
We were watching a show the other night, and I tried to hold her hand, and she moved it away. So whatever you're doing, it's working. She's mimicking that at home, so that's nice.
So we've talked about my wife and I lay on the couch at night and watch TV and stuff. And
what you call it? Cuddles and snuggles or something?
Snugs and hugs.
Snugs and hugs.
Snugs and hugs. Cuddles and snuggles. I kind of like that too. I might adopt that if you don't mind. But the funny thing is, like, she'll get to a point where she's laying on her side and her neck will hurt, so she'll sit back up because our couch is like dual reclining couch.
Yeah.
And so then it's funny because one of us
is your hand cramped. You've been holding that for 3 sessions.
I know. It's okay. All
right.
One of us will eventually just do this, where we just like slam our hand in the space between us, and it's just like, okay, we can hold hands. That's fine.
Fine, that's it.
But it makes me laugh. But it's always just like, you're not laying here anymore. So, and that wasn't a very good story. I'm sorry. I'll try.
That's let's work on that.
That's my work on that. That's my saint moment because I love my wife.
It happens. So. We've been watching The Bear.
I've heard about that. What? Tell me your thoughts on this.
Season 1. It is anxiety.
Okay.
Fueling. It is. The first season, I'm like, why are we watching this? Like, I want to watch a show because it's enjoyable.
Sure.
Like, shows that I'm like, no, this is too real, or this creates anxiety in me. I'm like, this isn't entertainment.
Okay.
Like, I can live in this. I can just go do my life and deal with this kind of anxiety and whatever. And so, like, season 1 is like, whatever, but it was like, I don't know why we kept going. I think she wanted to keep going. I don't know, but we did. And then, like, we did it. We started season 1 this summer, which is also the same time we kind of wrapped up Ted Lasso. And then season 2 had already launched, and they're like, Ted Lasso had already wrapped up, and they're like, if you love Ted Lasso, you'll love The Bear. And I'm like, oh, those aren't comparable.
Yeah.
They're not similar in any form or fashion. Like, not at all the same. Like, one's light and witty and shows you the full dynamic of human emotion and perspective and whatever, and the bear is just anxious and chaotic and frustrating and whatever. Like, yeah, if you want to not sleep well at night, yeah, sure, go watch The Bear. I guarantee you'll stay up and have sleepless nights.
So I appreciate that review because I have a brother who we do not have the same taste in media. And that's really, aside from just a few podcasts that we cross-pollinate on, we don't, like the shows he recommends, not for me. The music, probably not for me.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, I really love that he continues to share, though.
Sure, yeah.
Because, like, some hit.
Some may land.
Some do hit.
Yeah.
And so he was like, you should watch The Bear. It's absolutely outstanding TV. And I'm like, okay.
Have you watched it?
I've not at all. But then I had another friend who really hates you, so you know who I'm talking about.
I love him.
Yeah, I know you do. And that's such a weird dynamic.
I mean it.
Such a weird dynamic.
One of these days, he's gonna warm up to me.
He said, "Have you watched The Bear?" And I said, "No, I've heard about it, and like I even heard about it through a podcast that I listened to, and that has nothing to do with The Bear. It was just it was about a meteorologist actually." The guy or my friend was like, have you ever been to a Thanksgiving dinner that was like incredibly awkward?
It went off the rails.
You could cut the tension with a knife, and you were just presumably uncomfortable for like 90 to 120 minutes until you could eat and get out of there. And I was like, yeah. He's like, that's every single episode of The Bear. And I was like, why the hell would I watch that? That sounds terrible.
Right.
And so I've never watched it because I trust. Now he's not always. He doesn't have good takes sometimes, but I trusted that, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to watch that.
And season 1 and season 2 are considerably different. Like season 1 is just like this, like every season we're going to show you the dumpster fire, and then like which is
I'm out on that.
Which is fine to a degree.
Oh, I didn't think fine was coming out.
Well, when you look at the progression of where it's going, like so, season 2 it's written incredibly different, and I would say even each episode is unique in its own right. But there is one episode that is particularly it's a Christmas. I think it's a Christmas. I don't know what it is, but it's a big holiday family dinner, and it is chaos upon chaos upon chaos and dysfunction and lacking of emotional intelligence and awareness and like it's just all of the family trauma and pain wrapped into one, and it would the conversations we've had about you and your family and just kind of the stress points that have been there, like it's like that's all of that showing up in that space. But season 2 is incredibly different, and they really there's a couple of characters. One of the main characters is just weak, Sydney. I want to like her. And they're trying to craft the story around her, but she's just a weak character. They didn't do well with it. And then another one of the main characters, Richie, who I just loathe, and I'm like, I don't even understand why he's in the show. Like this is just miserable. Like
this is a good opportunity to say The Bear and CBS are not sponsors.
No, not at all. Is it CBS? I watch it on Hulu. I don't know, but whatever.
I thought they were maybe not.
Maybe I don't know.
But factually, CBS also not a sponsor.
Yeah, so. But the character development of Richie, like, and I am not one. I'm not a Pollyanna entertainment. Like I do not need everything to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time I like it when it's not a happy ending. Like give me reality. Like let me feel the weight of a show and leave it unresolved because that's life.
Yeah.
And so like Richie in this, like there's this beauty, and I'm gonna use this in a sermon tomorrow actually.
Okay.
Because it's this beautiful moment where he is the basis of the show is they own a Chicago beef shop.
Yeah.
And the brother Michael owned it, and then he committed suicide. And his younger brother Carmi is a Michelin star chef.
Okay.
And so Carmi comes back to Chicago. He's kind of estranged from the family. He's lived in Europe, and he's kind of gone on and explored life. But he comes back to kind of take on Michael's the family shop.
Okay.
And in that, like, Richie has been the one who's worked with Michael and has been faithful in that space, and Carmy's not been faithful. And so Richie feels like he is the rightful heir of carrying on the legacy of the shop. But Carmy comes back and has all this culinary experience, and so is he quote unquote highfalutin, and just trying to pull rank. And while Richie is the one who should be the one maintaining it, and there's this history of the characters of working in the shop and whatever. So that's all of season 1 that kind of lays the groundwork. And I would say really season 1 is that's all it is.
Okay.
Like it's 10 episodes of just creating a backstory and showing you the dynamics and the complexity that's there. In season 2, he decides to shut down the beefsteak shop, and open a high-end shop. And obviously that comes with all sorts of grief and frustration and pain. Mm-hmm. But in that, he wants to utilize the staff that's there, and the chemistry that they have, but upscale their skills and abilities. So he invests in them by sending them to culinary school. And Richie, he connects with another high-end restaurant that he sends to go and like learn what this looks like. Okay. And Richie is he's a middle-aged man from a broken marriage with a kid, and he's kind of at this middle-age crisis place where he just realizes, like, I've not done anything with my life, and I can't continue on in this way. Like, I've got to find a different rhythm. Yeah. And so, like, Carmy sends him. What's that? What's your?
I'm laughing that you've gone into such a rabbit hole of a show you hate.
Well, I hated it at the start. Second season totally redeemed itself.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know where we were going. I was just like, wow, he's giving me play-by-play.
You've got to be able to
not like.
You've got to be able to endure the first season.
Okay.
And it gets better in the second season.
You just gave me my outgoing spirit.
Ooh,
thank you.
But in this, Richie goes to this high-end, probably a Michelin type style restaurant, and his narrative is you've sent me here just to get me out of the space because they're trying to remodel the restaurant. And he's like, you just tried to remove me, and so like he's angry and he doesn't care about this restaurant. He doesn't care everything he sees there is just kind of punitive and menial, and he's like, this is stupid. Right, yeah. Exactly. And he gets to a boiling point where he asks his supervisor, and he's like, what kind of WTF, man? Like, help me out, man. And the guy's like, no, I love this job because people get to come here and experience like the best of life. And he's like, so we learn. Like, we go and we follow their social media feeds. Like, once we see the reservation, we start learning who they are.
Right.
We start trying to figure out how to relate to them and then bring that into their experience here.
Which is why my brother loves that show, because my brother genuinely follows chefs around New York City. So the last time my wife and I were in New York, my brother, like, said, we had arranged dinner. And we were like, where do you want to go for dinner? And he and his husband were like, no, we're going to go here. We want to go to this place because this chef is amazing. Yeah. And we want to take you to this place. And we were like, okay. I mean, hey, man, we're in New York. It's fine. And, like, I was there on a work trip. So we're like, yeah, no, this is great. No problem. And we went. And the funniest thing was I remember being like, I don't understand the concept of following around chefs, but I get it. Like, I follow baseball. Right. I follow soccer. Yeah. Like, I follow things. That's what they follow. Yep. And so it was really funny when we ordered the clothesline bacon as an appetizer. Okay. And I was like, I don't know what clothesline bacon's going to be. We waited like 45 minutes. Yeah. And then there was like this little wooden stand with a wire across it and like 6 strips of bacon. And look, we've talked about Body by Bacon. I've had a lot of bacon in my
Body by Bacon, coming out by Beachbody.
I've never had bacon.
You've heard of P90X? This is Body by Bacon.
I don't know what they did to this bacon. It was the best bacon I've ever had. And I was like, because at some point I'm like, it's an appetizer. It's been 45 minutes. Let's hustle up. And then I was like, Oh, that's delightful.
Yeah, no,
you take your time,
right?
And it's just so funny because my wife and I are we've always been very utilitarian about eating. It's like this is just the fuel. Like we might go out once a month or two, and like to a really nice dinner, but like we don't do fine dining.
Yeah.
And to be in a place where it's just like that's the exact thing. What you said was this was the experience.
This is
like the kitchen staff was focused on our dining experience, and we were just like, okay, this is next level. And that was the same trip where we had gone to a like world-renowned sushi place for dinner, and we were like, wow, we're wildly underwhelmed for what we paid. And it just had no unique anything. But for my brother to take me and be like, no, this is a cool spot, and be like, okay, yeah, this was a really good spot. Like you guys nailed it. You know what you're doing.
Yeah, so
I get why he likes the bear.
Part of the trajectory of that character, and it's probably the richest character. There's a couple of other nice character development pieces that happen, but for Richie, it's like this light bulb hits where he's like, oh, this isn't about just serving food or tradition or whatever. Like there's a why behind all of this, and it was funny. This will be my kind of center saint moment of I was talking with a friend of mine of like it's that moment when your friends are like, hey, we're going out to dinner. Do you guys want to come join us? And you're like, oh, we're going here, and you're like, oh, I don't like that place, and I'm going to bail out. And you're like, no, it's not about the place, just FYI, like it's not. It's about being together in community. The place is just a function. Like it's just don't miss the form, and it's that like we miss the form because of the function often in life, and it happens in a lot of spaces of like. So get back to like the form of like it's about being together and sharing a meal and having the casual whatever that may show up in conversation, right? That's what happens anytime you and I sit down and podcast. Like, I don't know what you're bringing to the table, and I don't know. I'm not sure necessarily. Like, even sometimes if I show up and I'm like, oh, I want to make sure I talk about this. There are times where I've left and been like, oh, I didn't even bring that up because the conversation went somewhere else, and that's it's the organic kind of gritty of life that just is this dynamic of the dance, if you will, of like. I can bring this idea of I think I'm going to bring a fox talk, but in the end we just turn into a mosh pit.
I thought we were pivoting to a pachanga, but we went to a mosh pit. That's much sweatier. It's much sweatier. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
I would say yes. I recommend the bear. You will have to.
I'm not going to do it.
You'll have to. You'll have to deal with the anxiety of season 1 and a couple of episodes in season 2.
I'm not going to do it, and here's why: is because I have enough daily anxiety of other things. And there are like if I start to watch something or we start to watch something, I'll just be like, "This isn't for me." And it was so funny because. Based on my wife and I's professions, there are specific things we cannot watch.
Sure.
Where we started to watch like a true crime something.
Too much, yeah.
And it was like a 3-part series, and in the first part we were like, okay, good setup, and the second part we're like, yeah, we're poking holes in this. And by the third, we may as well just been throwing popcorn at the TV. Like we were just yelling and hounding and like just ridiculing, just breaking the whole thing down. We're like, this is not how this works, and so. Which is a lot of fun for us. I mean, yelling at your TV on a Tuesday night is really a unique experience in your marriage. If you haven't done it, do it. But I think for me, what has slowed me down a little bit is we typically have kind of a list of here are some things that we're interested in, and we break it down into movies and series. And so, because normally we'll get through, if they're hour long, we'll get to 2 or 3 a night, or if it's a movie, we'll get through a movie a night. And but with the writer's strike,
I thought you were going through 2 or 3 movies a night. I'm like,
well, no, I don't have that kind of stamina.
I'm like, what? You starting at like 2:30 in the afternoon?
No, I don't have that kind of stamina. But with the writer's strike, we found this series that we watched the first episode and we were like, oh wow, okay, and it's called Special Ops Lioness with Nicole Kidman and Morgan Freeman and Zoe Saldana, and we were like, okay, hold on. there's a writer strike, there's an actor strike, and this first episode was like, we're going to binge this in 2.5 days.
Oh.
And so we had to go through and look because it's on Paramount Plus where they drop once a week. And we're like, they're not Netflix where you can binge it all. Like, you got to wait for it. They make you work. And we were like, that one episode was so good that if the rest of it is so good and we get to a point where there's a stopgap, we're going to be so angry. Like, so let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah.
And like, let's see what episodes drop when, and when they stop dropping, and if it's 10 or if it's 12 or if it's 8, that's okay. But like, we got to wait on it. So it was really funny that we're like cognizant of there's a writer strike. Let's not make ourselves angry in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
like,
right. Yeah.
So, but, oh man, it was just, wow. It was great TV. So that's my plug. If you're on Paramount Plus, watch Special Ops Linus.
We're crafted by stories, and I find this fascinating. I've got a friend, Bill, who
I know Bill. I met Bill.
Yeah, right. So we do.
We watch football together.
Yeah, and we do a community discussion called Free Range Discussions that helps explores spirituality from whatever trajectory you're coming from. So we don't. It's not necessarily prescriptive Bible study from a Christian perspective, although I certainly bring that into it. He teaches. He is as he says, a hopeful agnostic, where he's not sure that God's out there, but he. In the best that God could be, he hopes that maybe that's reality. And which I kind of thought, that's any Christian. We don't know. But there's kind of this hopefulness of
sure. I had a conversation with somebody once who, actually, we talked about recently on the podcast. My friend who called me because he needed help with an injured neighbor. His husband actually is a very challenging person in a really good way. Like he just likes fleshing out people's ideas and thoughts and truth. And at one point he said, well, does it bother you that we're religious? And I said, absolutely not. And he said, why? I was like, because everyone needs hope. And he was like, oh, I guess that's what this is. And I was like, well, no, I'm not categorizing your religion as hope. I'm just saying everyone needs hope, and a lot of people find hope in organized religion, and I think that's an okay thing. And so it sounds like Bill saying I'm like a hopeful agnostic is like, well, I want to believe there might be something out there, but it's maybe I want to believe there's something out there.
From what I've learned of Bill and our friendship, like he's an English teacher at a high school level, but he's very big into literature, and he's very big into the story and the myth. And he understands like the stories that are out there inform us and shape us.
Sure.
And so he's very big. He says I think the stories of Scripture are like they're great myth, and myth not in the sense of fable, but myth in the sense of a truth that presents itself with a story that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes more conservative or fundamental views of Christianity wants all of Scripture to be true and historical. And Marcus Borg says in the Bible, some of it's true and some of it actually happened. Like he says all of it's true and some of it actually happened.
Right.
Like in this reality of like, no, it points to truth.
Right.
But it may not all be historical. And that's okay. Like, let it live in the mythology of like it's leaning you into something that you should find in your life that you relate to. And you're like, no, I've been there. I can relate to this story, even though it's 2,000 years old. There are seasons of my life where I'm like, yep, that actually rings a bell.
Well, and I think to that point though, there's also. So I remember. I grew up in a very, well, I don't remember, just factually, I grew up in a very religious family. But I have a brother who's not religious, and he had surgery, and a friend of his, who's also not religious, cared for him through that surgery. And while my family, my nuclear family, or the family I grew up with, whatever you want to call them, didn't support my brother. I was like, here's these two secular people, and that's the gospel in action, right? Like that's like you're helping someone because you love them and you're helping them. And it has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just humankind. And so I think whatever story's in the Bible, what you identify with or what you don't identify with, every single person can identify with something in the Bible because it's a chronology of humanity. Mm-hmm. And so there are human instances in that you can identify with or not. And so I think that's, we read books older than the Bible.
Right.
I mean, and it's not anything that's religious or not religious or secular or anything else. It's humankind.
Yeah.
It's personal development. It's anthropology. I mean, people become anthropologists to study the study of men.
Yeah, when it comes to Bible, there's certainly many filters that you can read it through, but there certainly seems to be two meta narratives that I'll say that you can kind of approach it as, and if one is the sense of kind of punitive and hierarchical favor, like that's one lens, right? And like we have the truth or we have the knowledge, and then these people don't. Mm-hmm. That certainly is one lens, and you can read scripture and you'll find plenty of scripture that supports that.
Sure.
And sits in that space. But if you look at another lens, might be one of what is control or power versus support and uplifting of the downtrodden.
Right.
That's another lens you can look at, and you'll find support for both of those. Like you can read both of those. Take that lens and read it, and you'll be like, "Yep, that's here. I have plenty of reasons and plenty of scriptures.
Here's my proof.
Here's my argument. Yeah. Here's why I'm right."
Yeah.
And I'm not saying. I would say I'm not sure. Well, either is right or wrong. But if I'm going to choose between one or the other, the latter one certainly seems more appealing to me of a lens to actually look through and read through scripture. I want to care about those who are more marginalized or oppressed, and what the story of the narrative of redemptive communal engagement offers in this life. Yeah. And if that's who and what God is, I'm going to lean into that.
Sure.
And that's where I shape my life, and I would say my ministry around. And that's much more compelling than the option, which is more fear-based. So there's one that's one aspirational and one that's kind of fear avoidance. And then what's the end point of that, right? Heaven and hell, right?
Yeah.
Where certainly the former narrative leans more into that, where the second one would say heaven and hell is what you make of your day.
Yeah.
And it shows up in every day, whether or not you want to live in hell or you want to live in this torment of this aspirational or this torment of existence. Yeah. The bee's knees. So that's all that to say that all of that is the center and same moment of like how do we see life, how do we see others, how do we see the broken narratives or existence of others? Like, do we see that as them just being turd brains, or do we see them as a place of something's off and they can be set right? And that's two different approaches to reality.
No, people are the worst. They don't get better; they only get worse.
And there's still a duality in the comparison that I'm making. There's other narratives that are out there that are valuable.
Yeah.
But those are the two that I know that I've wrestled with often in my life. So
with people are the worst.
Yeah. What'd you learn today?
That people are the worst.
People are the worst. Yeah. You are, at least. I mean,
I try to be.
You're not even going to allow redemptive dreams to bring you back.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't allow that space in my life.
Who'd you offend?
The people. Don't matter.
The people. We, the people, are offended.
The people that don't matter. I think anybody unwilling to push themselves has probably not listened to this podcast because they are like, well, that challenges my safe little box that I live in with my cookies. And like, okay.
There's a dynamic there. How do you do self-reflection or self-awareness without being like just self-punishing, right? Like they're like, maybe that's my. Oh, this just became a therapy session.
Well, you're not the outgoing spirit unless you want to trade me.
No, I'm sorry. No, that thought just like, wow, just brought the magnifying and clarity glass into my mind of like, what's the balance there of being self-reflective, but also recognize, like in doing that, you recognize your faults, but you don't just punish yourself for the fault. Oh, sure. I got some work to do. Thanks for that. I'll bring that up in the session this week.
What did you learn today?
I just laid it out there. I gotta call my therapist and get a session in.
No, get your MHP on there, man. Yeah.
No, there is that. There's a balance of self-awareness that doesn't. You gotta carry that tension of self-worth in that space.
You do, which I'm going to use as my segue into.
All right,
I'm not even sweating. Wow, I can't even believe I'm not sweating.
That bee's knees did it, man.
Because I'm cheating. I'm cheating on this. I had a dream last night, and it was interesting because I knew it was a dream, which is good. But I was at a funeral, and the officiant of the funeral was like, does anyone have anything to say about this person? And this child, and let's face it, I find no value in children. So I was like, well, here comes this idiot saying something. Said the most profound thing in my dream, which was, before she lived, there was no sin. And after she died, she could sin no more. So whatever sin she committed in her waking life shouldn't overshadow the good deeds she did. That's it. Sit in that for a little bit. Go back and replay that and ponder that for a moment. That's the thing the kid in my dream said. And then I woke up really like with a lot of turmoil because I was like, do children have value? Oh no! What do we do with this?
I can't rethink that.
I know. I mean, but had it been an old woman, I would have been like, why? But it was like she was probably like 5. I don't know, kids' ages.
Stupid kid.
She had bows in her hair. She was dumb enough for that. But yeah. So
yeah, thanks for that. I'll go back and listen to this podcast and review it.
Or don't. Just go. You can just go live your life if you want instead.
Go live your life. Do that anyway. Do that in addition. It's a both and, not an either or.
If this then that.
Sure. Yeah. Whatever that means.
Delightful.
We made it to 50.
If it recorded.
Well,
oh, look at Captain Cocky Pants over here.
Still don't know. I hope so. I hope we made it. There. We should have made it last spring, but
I hope we did.
So what?
I hope we did. Thank you guys very much for tuning in to a Sinner and Saint podcast. Golden episode 50. Can't wait to start giving you more content. With
Golden girls. We're the golden boys.
Okay, my brain went different on that, and it was not for public consumption.
Thanks for tuning in. Spread the word. Check out the polls and the questions. Respond to those, and we'll get back with you. Like we said, send us an email, and we will give you a shout out.
And we'll talk about you too.
We will. Positive or negative. Yeah, we're not promising it's gonna be good.
Up to you.
Yeah. See ya.